Welcome. After 9 long months, sounds almost like giving birth, the F-9 is completed. And I am going to go through and kind of give you a good overview of the things I did, the things I put on, and how I have it all rigged up. So, let's get to it. Now, for anyone who either didn't watch the intro video to this whole rebuild series or maybe has forgotten what it looked like at the beginning, and well, you don't need to go back because, well, this is what we started with. 14-foot aluminum fishing boat, basic, 3 seats that needed a lot of work, a lot of holes in the seat. It was just a mess, but it was relatively cheap. So what we've turned it into is this. The trailer was completely redone. The only original parts from the trailer are the coupler, the wheel stand, the winch mount, the frame, the axle, and the wheels, and the fenders. That's it. Everything else has been replaced. New bunks, new keel rollers, new lights and electrical, new winch, new safety chains, and I replaced the walking platform. I like these old trailers because the walking platform lets you go down it, and a lot of new trailers, it's kind of like an add-on. You have to add that. Whereas the old trailers, it came with it. The hull color is, above the first chine, is Rust-Oleum smoke gray. 2 coats of primer, 3 coats of paint. I replaced the lights that used to be mounted up here with these devils, and these are USCG approved. I thought the silver for the registration numbering would show up better, but it doesn't, so I have new higher visibility registration numbers on order. They'll be here as early as the end of this week. So until then, I just got to deal with that. The bow cap, oh, they had mounted all kinds of things into the bow cap, and there were holes everywhere. So I filled the holes in with JB Weld 2-part epoxy, and then just a coat of Rust-Oleum silver paint, aluminum paint over that. Because of the way the bow slopes up, I had to build this to make it level. This is 1/8 inch aluminum, and back behind here is a gland that these have plugs on the back, similar to this, and then the power cables coming in have the other end of the plugs. So I can just unplug, pull the wires up through here. I could take this entire unit off. As far as how it's braced, the base part of this is 2x2 aluminum, and this rear screw here and then the front screw here not only go through the decking, but they also go into the frame. So this thing is locked into the frame. That is, everything joins up all the way down the line. So really have to work to rip this off of here. The first part, after stripping out the original seats and the little platform that was up in the bow here, was building a level subfloor that basically extends from about here to about the same distance the other side there, and it's level, and it extends all the way from back here to the front of these hatches here underneath. And underneath that subfloor is 2-pound foam. So all of the foam that was under the original seats, that went away, but that's been replaced by foam under here. And both sides, there's a narrow channel going down the center to allow electrical lines and the plumbing for the live well to run down. But the rest of underneath there is covered in foam. So we got that flotation back again. All the wood used in this, both underneath the carpet and here, as well as those panels in there, this is all 1/2-inch BCX plywood. I've got the nice side out. The rough side is underneath. That has been sealed. In the case of the painted parts, it was sealed with Kills primer. In the case of the carpeted parts, oil-based spar urethane. And then either paint or carpet was glued on. The framing, most of the framing is 16th-inch 1x1 aluminum angle. There is some 1.5. The part of the framing that runs along the side here is 1.5-inch 16th, and that is held in with drive rivets. And then the rear here and then across here, that is 1/8-inch 2x2. But the rest of it is all 1-inch 16th thick. And then pieces were cut, hatches cut out, everything was sealed, carpeted, or painted, and installed. Again, running on a budget. This is cheap indoor-outdoor carpeting from Menards. Cost 59 cents a square foot. That is a heck of a lot better than the $4 or $5 a square foot that these foam that people are insisting, oh, you got to put this foam on, you got to put this foam on. Fine, give me the money to afford it. I don't have that kind of money. Both the front seat base for the butt seat and the rear seat base for the regular seat, I have framing materials sections going across. So this is not only screwed through the wood, this screws into the frame with self-tapping sheet metal screws. So this is locked into the frame. It's not going anywhere. This little tool rack here, pliers, my scale will hang off of here. This is just some angle aluminum that I put together and created it. It flexes a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. If I have to brace it up, I'll do that later. Hatches. Well, the first thing we've got is we've got the batteries. There's another one back behind that. We've got a 100 amp for the trolling motor connected to this 50 amp circuit breaker here. And back behind there is a 35 AH battery that's connected to this 30 amp circuit breaker here. To engage power either to the trolling motor or to there, we just close the breaker. And at the end of the day, we just trip the breaker and we don't have power anymore. This is a 45-pound Minn Kota Edge. Yeehaw. The compartments up here, I built insert boxes from, again, 1x1 angle. We've got 16th inch FRP on the sides and 1/4 inch HDPE on the bottom. Now I've got my tackle organized in a way that makes sense to me. Pitching, flipping, punching, hooks, weights, also T-rigs, C-rigs. That's all those. This is my finesse, my wackies, my Nikos, my shakies, and then we've got stick baits and creature baits that are larger for this set of hooks. Smaller compartment over here, my finesse baits. These are my finesse baits. I have a box of Z-Man and I have a box of general finesse baits. I also have other colors. I have prescription glasses. I can't afford prescription sunglasses, so I've just got polarized clip-ons. And I normally wear gray, but I also have brown, amber, and green available to me. If I'm going from place to place on the lake, and I don't want to throw my rods back into the rod locker, I just lay the rods down here, secure them down here, toot to my next spot, unsecure them, bam, I got them ready. This back compartment here has got a lot of my general stuff: chatters, buzz, spinners, jigs, soft swim baits, hard swim baits, poppers, frogs. Rest of my plastics are in here. This is for trailers and everything else. Front compartment over there has got my jerk baits and my crankbaits. So basically, tackle and plastics for that, tackle and plastics that match here. That one's empty. No, you don't have to send me more stuff. I got enough for now. Don't worry about that. Back here we have the electrical compartment. We have 8 of the 12 slots on the fuse box used, which means I have 4 more circuits that I could install for whatever. That's the recirc pump for the live well. And then we have a Noco Genius charger to charge the 2 batteries up there. So live well is the only compartment that does not lock. There's no reason to lock it. General storage is in here, and yes, it's a mess. A lot of this gets installed. Front camera, light with rear camera mount, sonar. The net will come out and be on deck, and I'll be wearing the Onyx. So, but that leaves an emergency paddle, a fire extinguisher, general storage box. Then a lot of these things will come out too. Med kit, and then I have a spare PFD and an emergency throw cushion that has a line attached to it. So if I ever end up needing to do a water rescue for somebody, I've got that there. Starting battery for the electric start motor. When the guy who rebuilt it, he rebuilt it as a pure tiller. Used to have a key start, and he replaced the original stop button. That's the start button now. So I installed a stop button and an ECOS, taking that cheap stainless steel clip off and replacing it with a carabiner. This down here is the live well fill pump. At the ramp, when you're prepping for launch, one of the things you do is you put the plug in. And I always, going back 40 plus years, I always put the plug in from here, because if you get water back here that you need to drain, you put the motor in drive, you're creating an air pocket back here. Pull the plug, the water just shoots right out. So I always install the plug from the inside. This other side, when you put the plug in, you close this valve. Once it's in the water, you engage this pump from a switch on the panel. I'll show you that in a minute. And it fills the live well. At the end of the day, when you got it on the trailer, pull the plug, open the valve. Now all the water drains out of the live well, back through the same basic hose. That's why the Y connection here, and there's another Y connection up in here. As far as electrical controls, we have a digital timer. Now, as soon as power is engaged up there, this timer comes on. It will run for 30 seconds and complete a connection. And then for 4.5 minutes, it runs with the connection off. That means we have 30 seconds on, 4.5 minutes off. The pump does not engage until I flip that switch. Then the pump will engage when we're on the on timing. Front and rear USB ports, lights, sonar, manual bilge pump. I'll explain that in a minute. And then live well fill. Now I still got 2 switches I could connect up here if I wanted. So that's my electrical controls right there. Now I talked manual bilge. Well, the bilge itself is an auto bilge. It has a float switch built into it, but if for some reason the float switch isn't functioning properly, that's why the manual switch, because that bypasses the float switch and engages the bilge manually, sucks it up, shoots it out the side back here. Toolbox, I don't have every tool I need, but I have quite a few of the tools I need to, if anything goes wrong with the motor. Anchor, if I want to use the anchor, I just clip it in here, toss it over the side. Gas tank is under here. Gas line comes out through here. This is the mount for my tablet, which I run Navionics on it. So, because I only have a striker sonar, so I don't have built-in maps. So I run my Navionics on my tablet. And the last hatch is the rod locker. I mean, I've got lots of space. I've got 10 rods in there, and I've still got lots of space. This is 16th inch FRP, same stuff I used on the inside of the dry boxes up there. So it keeps it from, ramming into corners. 1/4 inch FRP in the rear and in the front. 7'10" internal length. So I can't quite fit an 8-foot rod, but my 7.6 Fury flipping stick fits in there just fine. Place on eBay creates original recreations of original stickers. So this sticker design is exactly what was on this boat when it was new back in 1972. So I replaced that. The motor, as you can probably see, is a long shaft. Nobody had a short shaft that was affordable to me. So it's a long shaft. It's not going to be the most efficient for driving this boat now until sometime when I can get a jack plate installed. That's looking at next year. Get an adjustable jack plate installed. Bow and stern lights just attached to the carry handles. The battery charger, I just have to plug in here and the charger goes off. Let me mount up a couple of things here and you can see what it'll look like when I'm on the water. Okay, now we're live here. We've got the sonar mounted on its ram mount. That gets power would get plugged in here. Transducer tucks back in here and then runs down to where it's strapped to the trolling motor. Front bow camera. This was fun because I know this is going to be exposed to spray and everything, and these are cheap cameras that aren't waterproof. So I modified its underwater case. This fits in there fairly snug. I mean, you can pull it out, put it back in, but it is snug enough that while it might not be waterproof, it is definitely splash proof. So I can run the camera off of system power, 128 gig card in it. I've got about 12 hours of filming time on the card and unlimited time on power. My normal hook removal pliers, my scale here, the net, which as you can see is a fray bill. This is a collapsible. When I get to a spot, I fold it out, extend it out. I've got a 42-inch net. After I net a fish, before I take the hook out, I turn this on. It zeroes out with the clip on it already. So then when I put a fish on there, I get an accurate weight. So, rear camera is up here. Power to my other USB outlet. Again, 128 gig card, 12 hours of film time, unlimited time on power. This is the power for my tablet. Again, unlimited power. And the tablet will just go into its mount just like it did on the canoe. And now I'm ready to fish. You know, this is basically what we have. This is what I've turned this old basic fishing boat into. Welcome to the wide world of a inexpensive bass boat. And you're saying, well, inexpensive? Well, the boat was used, the motor was used, rebuilt. The trolling motor came from a factory outlet store. The sonar I already had. So, grand total cost of this project, including purchasing the boat, motor, trolling motor, was just a little over $3,000. Now, that includes everything. I mean, the butt seat is a new seat mounts, pedestal, all the wood, all the carpet, all the paint, all the aluminum framing, all of that. The connector plugs up there, the connector plug back here, the gas tank, the line, it's a brand new gas tank, the gas line, everything, all totaled, about $3,000. So that's what you can do for $3,000. I hope you enjoyed this, and my next vid should be a fishing one, as tomorrow morning I go out, and the prime purpose for tomorrow is testing this whole thing, making sure everything does what I want it to do, how I want it to do, and all of that. Fishing is going to be secondary, but tomorrow morning is going to be the first run. and I will be posting video from that as well. Anyway, this is M.N. Fisher signing off for now.